Tonight, we enter the most peaceful place in the universe. Not a hidden valley or a distant galaxy, but the quiet space inside your own head. The human brain, a landscape of thoughts and dreams, is more soothing than many of us ever realize. Every spark of memory, every slow wave of sleep, every gentle hum of silence, it all weaves together like a lullaby. Science often describes the brain as a machine, buzzing with circuits and firing signals. But if you slow down, really slow down, you'll notice another side to it, a soft, flowing rhythm designed to bring balance and calm. It's almost as if the brain was built not only to think, but also to rest. So as you settle in tonight, let us wander together into this peaceful terrain. We'll move like drifting clouds, unhurried, unbroken, discovering the gentle truths of the mind. Each fact is not just science, but a doorway to quiet wonder, an invitation to let go, breathe slower, and fall gently into sleep. Now let's begin with the first soft secret of the brain. The brain as a quiet garden of thought. Imagine your brain as a hidden garden, not crowded with noise, but filled with winding paths of calm. Thoughts are like small plants, sprouting, blooming, fading. Some grow tall, while others vanish quietly in the soil. In this garden, silence isn't emptiness. It's the space where life begins to breathe. Neuroscience shows us that the brain creates around 60,000 thoughts a day, yet most drift away like petals in the breeze. Isn't it strange that the mind is both crowded and endlessly spacious at the same time? And if you sit still long enough, you can almost sense this gentle duality. Some thoughts rush forward like weeds, demanding attention. Others are shy, waiting in the background like hidden flowers. The brain doesn't need to force them. It simply holds the space for them to exist. And this natural rhythm is why sitting quietly, even for a few minutes, can feel like watering unseen roots. The garden knows how to grow when left alone. What's remarkable is that silence itself nurtures this process. Studies show that quiet surroundings actually encourage new brain cells to form in the hippocampus, the part of the brain that shapes memory. Silence, in a way, is like fertile soil. Without it, the garden becomes overcrowded, dry, and restless. With it, the mind blooms in unexpected ways. Perhaps this is why, after a long day, a gentle walk without music or chatter feels so refreshing. Your brain isn't starving for more input. It's quietly tending its inner garden, letting old leaves fall away while new shoots emerge. This is restoration without effort, growth without pushing. And so when you picture your mind tonight, don't imagine a machine or a storm. Picture a garden at dusk, soft, alive, but unhurried. Thoughts drift in like fireflies, glowing for a moment, then fading back into the dark. That's the mind's quiet gift. Not control, not noise, but peace. The gentle rhythm of brain waves in rest. When you close your eyes, your brain doesn't shut down. It begins to play a hidden symphony. Waves of electrical activity rise and fall like tides washing across a shore. These are your brain waves, slow, rhythmic patterns that shift with every state of mind. In rest they soften, stretching into longer, calmer ripples, as if the brain itself is rocking you to sleep. This rhythm is so natural, yet most of us never notice it. There are different kinds of waves: beta for alertness, alpha for calm focus, theta for drowsy drifting, and delta for deep sleep. Each wave is like a different tempo of music. Imagine your brain as both the instrument and the player, adjusting the melody depending on your state of being. When you meditate or even breathe slowly, you invite alpha waves to rise, the same kind you feel when watching a sunset or floating in a warm bath. What's fascinating is how contagious these waves can be. When a group of people sits quietly together, their brain rhythms often synchronize. Scientists call it neural entrainment. It's as if human minds were always meant to hum in harmony, tuning each other into the same calm frequency. This rhythm also explains why rituals like chanting, drumming, or even steady rocking have soothed humans for centuries. They don't just calm the body, they guide the brain waves into slower patterns, reminding us of the deep safety of rest. We don't think our way into peace, we ride the rhythm that's already there. So tonight, as you listen, you may notice your own mind beginning to soften. That's not imagination, it's your brain shifting keys, moving from fast, restless notes into the slower music of peace. You don't control it, you just allow it. How slow waves cradle us into deep sleep. In the stillness of night, something extraordinary happens inside the brain. Slow waves, large and sweeping, begin to roll across the cortex. They are like giant ocean tides, moving with purpose, rinsing away the clutter of the day. This is slow wave sleep, the deepest, most restorative stage, where the brain doesn't just rest, it heals. It's as if each wave carries away tension, replacing it with silence. During these moments, your brain clears toxins that build up while awake. Scientists discovered a system, the glymphatic system, that works like a night janitor, washing the brain clean. Imagine tiny rivers of cerebrospinal fluid sweeping through the mind, carrying waste out, leaving clarity behind. No wonder you feel lighter after a good night's sleep. It's not just rest, it's renewal. What's more, these waves also anchor memory. The brain replays fragments of the day, weaving them into long-term storage. It's almost like a librarian walking through shelves at night, deciding which books to keep and which to let go. The slower the wave, the more carefully the memories are filed. But here's the peaceful twist. You don't notice any of this. You drift in dreams while your brain tends its secret work. Slow waves carry you deeper, pulling you into a kind of inner ocean. This is why waking up too often leaves you foggy. The waves were interrupted mid-flow. Without them, the ocean of rest remains unfinished. So if you've ever wondered why deep, dreamless sleep feels so uniquely refreshing, this is the reason. It isn't emptiness, it's the brain's quiet tide, carrying you further than waking life ever can. And when you rise, you are not the same person. You've been washed, rebuilt, restored. Dreams as the language of resting neurons. Dreams. They seem chaotic, yet they carry a rhythm of their own. When neurons rest, they don't simply go silent. They speak in stories, weaving fragments of memory, fear, hope, and imagination. It's as if the brain, finally free from daily noise, begins to paint with colors it had hidden all along. And so we find ourselves running through impossible landscapes, meeting faces we thought were gone, or flying without wings. Science suggests dreams help process emotions. They take the raw energy of the day and reshape it into symbols. You may not understand them, but the brain does. It's emotional housekeeping disguised as fantasy. Some psychologists even say nightmares are not punishments, but rehearsals, the brain practicing how to face fear in a safe theatre of sleep. Yet there's also a poetic mystery here. People across cultures have always seen dreams as messages from ancestors, from gods, or from the unconscious itself. Perhaps science and poetry are not so far apart. Both admit this. Dreams matter, even if we don't fully know why. Interestingly, when scientists watch the brain during REM sleep, they find patterns that look almost like waking consciousness. It's as if the brain is awake inside a different world. The neurons fire, the visual cortex lights up, but the body stays still, paralyzed for safety. You live entire adventures in silence, while the room around you remains unchanged. And when you wake, Fragments linger. A face, a sound, a strange feeling you can't quite name. That's the language of resting neurons. Unfinished, symbolic, yet deeply human. It's the brain whispering to itself, even while you rest. Memory drifting like soft clouds at night. Memory isn't stored like files in a cabinet. It drifts like clouds shifting shape. At night, as you fall into deeper rest, memories float through your brain in ways you can't feel. Some settle gently into long-term storage, while others dissolve, forgotten forever. This drifting isn't failure, it's design. The brain knows that peace often means letting go. During sleep, the hippocampus, the brain's memory hub, sends information to the neocortex, where it becomes part of your story. This isn't a straight transfer, it's more like clouds moving across a sky, merging, splitting, reshaping into something new. That's why you sometimes wake with sudden clarity. Your brain rearranged the puzzle while you slept. But memory is also tied to emotion. Strong feelings act like anchors, keeping certain clouds heavier, harder to move. That's why joyful or painful moments are harder to forget. The brain doesn't just store facts, it stores the weight of how they felt. Memory is a storm of clouds, light and heavy, drifting together each night. What's peaceful is the release. Many small details of the day vanish, freeing the brain from overload. Imagine if you had to carry every face, every word, every sensation forever. You would drown in clutter. Forgetting is mercy, a kind of inner cleaning that makes space for tomorrow's sky. So when you rest tonight, picture your memories as clouds above a quiet valley. Some drift away, some stay, and some transform into shapes you'll only recognize later. This drifting is not loss. It's the mind's quiet art of creating peace from chaos. The brain's love for patterns and calm repetition. The brain is quietly addicted to patterns. It doesn't just notice them, it finds safety in them. Think of how soothing it feels to listen to rain tapping on the window or the rhythm of footsteps on a quiet street. Your neurons are wired to relax when life repeats itself, because repetition means predictability, and predictability means safety. This love for patterns is why rituals bring comfort, even the small ones. From brushing your teeth at night to folding clothes a certain way, these repeated acts signal to the brain that the world is steady. In fact, researchers say that routines lower cortisol, the stress hormone, and strengthen neural pathways that link to calm. That's why monks chant, children crave bedtime stories, and we feel uneasy when schedules break. The brain is whispering, "Give me rhythm, give me something I can lean on." But repetition also sharpens focus. When you repeat something gently, like tracing shapes in sand or knitting a soft scarf, the brain drifts into a meditative state. This isn't boredom, it's restoration. The predictable rhythm tells your neurons, you don't need to be on guard. You can rest. Think of music. A melody becomes beautiful not because it is chaotic, but because it follows patterns your brain can hold. That's why lullabies calm infants across every culture. Their brains recognize a loop, a cycle, something that feels safe enough to fall asleep to. Even adults respond to this invisible pull. A soft heartbeat rhythm, steady and repeating, can lower anxiety in minutes. So when life feels too loud, remember, the brain isn't asking for more information. It's asking for something repeated, something familiar. A pattern you can rest inside of. That's how the brain builds peace. Not in chaos, but in circles that return, gently, again and again. Why silence sharpens hidden mental clarity? We often fear silence, yet the brain craves it. In quiet moments, neurons reorganize. It's not absence, it's adjustment. Studies in neuroscience show that just 2 minutes of silence can be more restorative than listening to relaxing music. The mind, given space, finds its own rhythm again. In silence, your senses sharpen. You hear your own heartbeat, the hum of air, the faint rhythm of breath. These sounds are always there, but hidden beneath layers of noise. When the noise is removed, your brain refocuses inward. That's when sudden clarity emerges. An answer you were chasing all day may appear softly in the hush of the night. There's also a biological beauty here. Silence triggers the brain to lower stress responses in the amygdala and strengthen pathways in the prefrontal cortex, where decision-making lives. In other words, silence isn't emptiness, it's space that allows clarity to grow, like a clear lake reflecting the sky. Think about how many life-changing thoughts people describe having during solitary walks in quiet gardens or while staring at the stars. It isn't magic. It's silence, allowing the brain to breathe without interruption. Without distraction, the mind can finally hear itself. So silence isn't loneliness, it's a tool, a medicine, a sharpening stone for the hidden clarity inside you. The brain is not afraid of quiet. It becomes itself in it, the gentle hum of neurons talking to each other. Even now, as you listen, your brain hums softly. Neurons are never silent. They are whispering in electricity, passing signals back and forth like lanterns glowing in the dark. Imagine billions of tiny sparks lighting up in patterns, each one connected to the next, a web of energy alive in silence. Scientists say a single neuron can connect to thousands of others, and yet these messages are not loud, they are delicate. Each spark is less than 1,000th of a volt, but together they create everything: your memories, your dreams, your sense of self. The hum of neurons is the quiet song of your existence. You don't feel it directly, but sometimes you catch echoes. The calm drift before sleep, the flash of inspiration, the slow fading of a memory. All of these moments are the result of neurons speaking in their secret code. To the brain, peace is not silence, but a steady hum of balanced conversation between cells. Here's the wonder. This communication never fully stops, not even in deep sleep. The brain keeps humming, adjusting, weaving. You rest, but your neurons stay awake, tending the threads that keep your story alive. The hum is life's background music, playing quietly no matter what you're doing. So when you picture your mind tonight, imagine not chaos, but harmony. 1,000,000 lanterns glowing softly, passing light from one to another. That's the hum of neurons, a soundless, endless dialogue shaping who you are. How yawning cools the busy brain. Yawning! So ordinary, yet strangely mysterious. Why do we do it? One theory is simple and beautiful. Yawning cools the brain. Like opening a window in a warm room, yawning draws in cool air and increases blood flow, lowering the brain's temperature when it's working too hard. The result? A small reset button hidden in your body's rhythm. Think about when yawns arrive: before sleep, after waking, during stress, or when you're bored. Each time, the brain is in transition, either slowing down or rebalancing itself. Yawning clears heat and resets the clock. It's not laziness. It's the body saying, give the mind a breath of fresh air. What's even stranger, yawns are contagious. Seeing or hearing someone yawn often makes you do it too. Scientists believe this is empathy at work. When we mirror another's yawn, our brains may be syncing states, creating social harmony. It's as if yawns whisper, I feel what you feel. And yet yawning has a meditative side. Notice the stretch in your jaw, the slow inhale, the soft exhale. It's a built-in relaxation ritual. Even forced yawns can slow heart rate and reduce tension. You've been carrying this tool your whole life without realizing how calming it is. So tonight, if you find yourself yawning as you listen, let it happen. That's your brain gently cooling itself, preparing for the soft quiet of sleep. A simple gesture, yet one of nature's oldest lullabies. The peaceful reset of daydreaming. We often think daydreaming is distraction, but in truth, it's the brain's way of resetting. When you stare out a window, let your mind wander, or drift in thought during a quiet moment, the brain activates what's called the default mode network. This isn't wasted time, it's repair. In this state, the mind rehearses the future, replays the past, and reorganizes the present. That's why so many solutions appear when you're not thinking. Your brain is still working, just in a softer, freer way. Daydreaming is like loosening a tight knot without pulling at it. Interestingly, neuroscientists found that creativity spikes when people allow their minds to wander. The brain forges connections between distant ideas, weaving them into new patterns. This explains why showers, walks, or staring at the clouds often spark insights. In stillness, the brain quietly explores. But daydreaming is not just for problem-solving, it also soothes. By slipping into gentle fantasies, the brain lowers stress and creates an emotional cushion. A small drift into an imagined world reminds you that not everything has to be solved now, in this moment. Peace comes in letting the mind wander freely. So the next time you find yourself drifting, don't scold yourself. You're not wasting time. You're resetting. Your brain is gently whispering, "Let me dream," while you're still awake. This is not distraction. This is restoration. The brain's delight in small, steady rituals. The human brain smiles quietly at rituals, not just grand traditions, but the small, steady ones that frame our days. Lighting a candle before sleep, sipping tea in the same cup, or writing a line in a diary, each act is more than habit. It's a signal to the brain. Here, in this moment, you are safe. The ritual becomes a doorway into calm. Neuroscientists tell us rituals lower uncertainty, reducing the strain of decision-making. Every time you repeat a gentle action, your brain no longer wastes energy deciding what to do. That saved energy becomes peace, and the body follows, heart rate lowers, breath deepens. Rituals are the mind's lullabies. Think of how children cling to bedtime stories. The story may change, but the act of hearing one never does. It's not the words that bring sleep, it's the steady presence, the dependable rhythm. Adults are no different. We may hide it in routines of tea, prayer, stretching, or silence, but our brains still seek that comfort. Rituals also link memory and identity. Your grandmother's way of folding blankets, your father's evening walk, your own quiet journaling. They tie us to people and places, anchoring us in belonging. Each repetition strengthens neural circuits of familiarity. The brain feels at home when rituals return. So tonight, even the smallest gesture, enter washing your hands slowly, dimming a lamp, is not wasted. It's a ritual, and your brain will receive it as a promise of rest. The simplest acts can carry the deepest peace. Why soft music eases tangled thoughts. Music is not just sound, it's medicine for the brain. A slow melody, soft and steady, untangles knots of thought. When the notes unfold gently, neurons align and brain waves settle into calm patterns. This is why lullabies exist in every culture. Before words, before science, humans already knew music heals. The rhythm of music has a direct effect on heart rate and breathing. When you hear a slow, steady beat, your body mirrors it. Breaths grow longer, muscles loosen, and the brain shifts from alert beta waves into softer alpha waves. The result feels like sinking into warm water. Even more fascinating, music releases dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. But unlike the sharp spike from caffeine or sugar, music delivers it in waves, a gentle release that soothes rather than excites. This is why certain songs make you cry, not from sadness, but from a safe unraveling of tension you've held too long. Soft music also bypasses the language center. It doesn't demand you to think. It washes over you, wordless, yet meaningful. That's why you can fall asleep to it, why even newborns sway to rhythm, why the elderly remember songs when words are gone. Music is peace, carried in air. So when thoughts feel tangled and silence feels too sharp, turn to music, not as distraction, but as balm. Your brain knows how to let go when carried by melody. The notes are not just sound, they are threads, weaving you back into calm. The calm breath that slows neural storms. Breathing seems simple, yet it is the most direct bridge to the brain. Each slow inhale and long exhale reshapes the rhythm of neurons, quieting storms of activity. Scientists call this respiratory entrainment, where the breath gently guides the firing of brain cells. You don't think your way into peace, you breathe your way there. When stress rises, the amygdala, or the brain's alarm system, floods you with signals, but a long, slow breath sends a counter-message to the vagus nerve: you are safe. Heartbeat slows, blood pressure softens, neurons settle. The storm doesn't vanish, but the waves calm. Ancient traditions knew this long before neuroscience. Pranayama in yoga, breath prayers in Christianity, mindful breathing in Buddhism. Each one is built on the same truth. The breath is not just survival, it is a tool for the brain. When used with intention, it transforms fear into quiet. Notice how you sigh after stress, or how you breathe deeper while watching the sea. These are not random, they are the body instinctively regulating the brain, returning to balance. Each breath is like a hand, smoothing wrinkles out of the mind. So tonight, let your breath be your anchor, slow, gentle, steady. Each inhale, a wave rising, each exhale, a wave falling. In this rhythm, neurons find peace, and in that peace, the brain whispers, you are safe enough to rest. The quiet balance of left and right hemispheres. Your brain is divided into two hemispheres, left and right, logic and creativity, detail and imagination. We often treat them as opposites, but peace lies in their balance. When the hemispheres work together, the brain finds harmony and your inner world softens. It is like two hands meeting in prayer, different yet united. The left hemisphere thrives on order, numbers, language, structure. The right floats in images, music, intuition. Neither is peaceful alone. Too much left and the mind becomes rigid. Too much right and the mind drifts into chaos. But when both dance together, the brain feels whole. Interestingly, practices like humming, slow walking, or even bilateral eye movements encourage this balance. They nudge signals across the corpus callosum, the bridge between hemispheres. This quiet crossing smooths emotional storms, grounding logic in creativity and creativity in logic. The brain's balance is not mechanical, it's deeply human. Think of artists who find discipline, or scientists who dream vividly. Their peace comes not from one side dominating, but from the partnership of both. The hemispheres are not rivals, they are companions. And when they unite, the brain shines with calm clarity. So next time you feel pulled too far, either into overthinking or into restless fantasy, pause. Remember, your two hemispheres are waiting to hold each other. Balance is not in choosing one, it's in letting both sing together. Why the brain glows brighter in gratitude. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a change in the brain's chemistry. When you focus on what you are thankful for, neurons release dopamine and serotonin, the same chemicals that lift mood and ease anxiety. Gratitude literally lights up the prefrontal cortex, the area linked to calm and joy. It is peace that glows from within. But gratitude isn't loud. It doesn't demand grand gestures. It often begins with noticing the softness of your pillow, the warmth of tea, the presence of someone's voice. Each small thankfulness rewires the brain to look for safety instead of threat. And the more you notice, the more peaceful the world feels. Researchers found that writing down 3 simple gratitudes each night improves sleep quality. It's not the act of writing alone, but the shift in attention. The brain, which naturally scans for danger, is reminded to scan for safety instead. Gratitude is a gentle redirection, from fear to calm, from scarcity to abundance. Gratitude also builds resilience. When storms come, those who practice thankfulness still feel the waves, but they hold on to anchors. Memories of what has been good, reminders of what still is. This changes how the brain stores emotion, making it less reactive, more grounded. Gratitude is not denial, it is balance. So tonight, as you lie in bed, whisper even the smallest thanks. Your brain will respond, glowing gently like a lantern in the dark. Gratitude is not just good manners. It is the brain's quiet pathway to peace, the stillness that comes from simple focus. When the brain focuses on one simple thing, a single flame, a piece of breath, the brush of fabric between your fingers, it enters a state of stillness. Scientists call this attentional control, but it feels more like resting on a quiet shore. Thoughts stop colliding, neurons stop scattering, and the mind gathers itself into a calm center. This is why crafts, meditation, or even slow cooking can feel so deeply soothing. They do not overload the brain, they narrow its field, and in narrowing, they create peace. The prefrontal cortex, which often juggles endless tasks, now carries only one. In that relief, stillness blooms. Focus is not about force, it is about gentleness. Think of a cat staring at a beam of light, not straining, just being absorbed. The brain loves this state because it requires less energy. Instead of burning fuel on chaos, it runs smoothly, like a candle flame instead of a wildfire. And interestingly, focus and rest are partners. After deep concentration, the brain feels lighter, not heavier, because it has released background noise. It's like organizing a cluttered room. Fewer things to hold in awareness, more space to breathe. Simplicity itself becomes peace. So tonight, if you feel restless, pick one thing, your breath, a sound, a memory, and let your mind sit with it. Not chasing, not forcing, just allowing. The brain will meet you there, grateful for the chance to be still. How imagination releases mental pressure. We often think imagination is escape, but in truth, it is release. The brain, when overwhelmed, naturally drifts into daydreams, stories, or creative visions. This isn't weakness, it's balance. Imagination gives neurons a softer place to wander, a pressure valve for thoughts too sharp to hold. Studies show that creative visualization lowers stress hormones and activates the brain's reward circuits. When you imagine yourself walking on a beach, your brain responds as though you were truly there. The waves may be unseen, but the calm they bring is real. Imagination is a doorway your neurons know how to open. Think of children building entire worlds out of sticks and stones. Their brains are not escaping life. They are rehearsing it, softening its edges, preparing for what's to come. Adults carry the same need. That's why storytelling, music, or art remain timeless. They are not luxuries. They are necessities for a mind that seeks peace. And imagination doesn't just soothe, it organizes. By creating stories, the brain connects scattered ideas, turning fragments into meaning. This process releases tension, and a puzzle that was unsolved in reality finds its answer in a dream or vision. The brain rests by weaving. So tonight, allow your imagination to wander freely. Picture landscapes, faces, skies. Even if they make no sense, trust the process. Imagination is not distraction. It is the brain's gentle way of setting itself free. Why the brain loves the sound of flowing water. Close your eyes and think of a river. The steady flow, the endless movement, the way the sound never truly begins or ends. The brain adores this. Water sounds reduce stress and promote relaxation because they mimic the brain's own rhythms, continuous, fluid, soothing. You could say water speaks the brain's natural language. Researchers call these non-threatening sounds. Unlike sudden noise which triggers the amygdala, flowing water signals safety. There is no danger in the background, only constancy. And so the nervous system softens, muscles loosen, and thought slows to match the current. It's also about predictability. Every ripple may change, but the flow continues. The brain, which fears uncertainty, finds reassurance in water's promise. No matter what shifts, the river always moves forward. That endless motion mirrors the calm pulse of neurons firing in balance. This may explain why so many people fall asleep to rain sounds, why fountains calm gardens, why waves on a shore make strangers grow quiet. It isn't superstition, it is biology. The auditory cortex receives water sounds as a lullaby, lowering vigilance and inviting rest. So if the night feels heavy, imagine water flowing near you. Or let real water run in a shower, a stream, a recording. Your brain will respond instantly because deep down it already knows the song, the gentle embrace of oxytocin in connection. Oxytocin, often called the love hormone, but its role is deeper than romance. It is the brain's soft embrace, released in moments of trust, kindness, or touch. When oxytocin flows, neurons signal safety. Stress lowers, the heart steadies, and the mind feels held. Peace doesn't always come alone. Sometimes it arrives through connection. Hugging, holding hands, even listening with empathy triggers oxytocin. The brain interprets these gestures as signs of belonging, and belonging calms the fear circuits. Loneliness activates alarms, but connection silences them. We are wired for peace through one another. This is why kindness feels healing, not just for the one who receives it, but also for the giver. Acts of generosity cause oxytocin release on both sides. The brain glows with a subtle warmth, a chemical reminder that you are not separate. You are seen, you are safe.
Even animals reflect this truth. Stroking a pet increases oxytocin in both human and animal, syncing two nervous systems in calm. It's not magic, it's the ancient biology of connection, reminding us that peace is not only inside, but also between.
So tonight, recall a moment of closeness. A hand on your shoulder, a smile held longer, a voice that made you feel at ease. That memory alone can spark oxytocin, and in that spark the brain feels wrapped in a gentle embrace, the soft repair of sleep on weary neurons. Sleep is not just absence, it is repair. Each night neurons stretch clean and rebuild themselves like workers resetting a city after dusk. Without sleep, signals fray, memories scatter, and emotions grow sharp. But with sleep, the brain returns to balance. It is the mind's quiet workshop. During deep sleep, glial cells, the brain's caretakers, sweep away toxins, repairing the pathways of thought. Synapses, overloaded from the day, shrink slightly, giving them space to grow fresh again. This pruning is not damage. It is gardening. The brain clears room for clarity. Meanwhile, REM sleep acts like an artist. It strengthens connections linked to creativity and emotion. This is when dreams bloom, rehearsing challenges, soothing wounds, and reshaping ideas. Sleep is not passive. It is the most active healing the brain knows. And the consequences are striking. Even one night of poor sleep raises stress hormones, lowers focus, and amplifies fear. But one night of good sleep restores calm, brightens mood, and strengthens resilience. The brain is not asking for endless hours. It is asking for quality, for surrender. So when you close your eyes tonight, trust the process. Your neurons are waiting, ready to repair, ready to rebuild. Sleep is not wasted time. It is the brain's softest gift. How meditation smooths the restless mind. Meditation is not about emptying the brain. It is about smoothing it, like brushing ripples on water. When you sit quietly, close your eyes, and focus on the present, your brain shifts from scattered beta waves into slower, more peaceful rhythms. It isn't magic, it's mechanics. The prefrontal cortex calms, the amygdala rests, and the storm of thought softens into stillness. Neuroscientists found that even short daily meditation grows grey matter in regions linked to emotional balance and memory. This means the brain doesn't just feel calm in the moment, it actually reshapes itself to hold peace more easily. Meditation is practice, yes, but it's also physical change. The restless mind becomes rewired for quiet. What's fascinating is that meditation is flexible. You don't need caves or robes. Even noticing your breath while waiting for a bus or drinking water can bring the same effect. The brain responds to attention, not ceremony. Peace is always available, waiting at the edges of awareness. Meditation also brings awareness to thoughts without judgment. By watching them drift, you stop wrestling with them. The brain, freed from resistance, naturally slows. This simple act of noticing is like loosening knots in a rope, not by pulling harder, but by giving space. So when the world feels heavy, remember, meditation doesn't demand silence outside. It creates silence inside. A moment, a breath, and the brain remembers how to rest. The secret calm hidden in deep focus. There is a state called flow. So when you're so absorbed in a task that time melts away. The brain loves this. Deep focus doesn't feel draining. It feels liberating. Neurons align, distractions vanish, and you become one with what you're doing. This is not pressure. It is peace, disguised as effort. In flow, dopamine and norepinephrine increase, sharpening attention while keeping you calm. That's why painters lose hours in their work, or readers forget the world in a book. Their brains are not stressed. They are balanced, tuned to a perfect frequency. This deep focus also quiets the inner critic. In flow, self-doubt disappears because the prefrontal cortex, the seat of overthinking, temporarily deactivates. Scientists call it transient hypofrontality. To us, it feels like freedom. The brain is finally allowed to play without commentary. And here's the paradox. Flow feels intense, yet restful. After hours of deep focus, you often feel refreshed, not exhausted. That's because the brain wasn't scattered. It was streamlined, like a river moving smoothly through its channel. No leaks, no blockages, just flow. So the next time you find yourself lost in work, art, or play, don't feel guilty. The brain isn't straining. It's resting in the most active peace it knows. Why slow, blinking resets the nervous system? Have you noticed how, in moments of calm, your blinks slow down? It's not random. Blinking is more than keeping the eyes moist. It's a nervous system reset. Every slow blink sends a signal through the vagus nerve, telling the brain, relax, you are safe. That tiny pause carries weight. Studies reveal that blinking activates the brain's default mode network, the same system used in daydreaming and gentle reflection. In other words, each blink is a micro-rest, a fraction of a second where the brain drifts inward. Multiply that across a day, and you'll see how often the mind finds peace without us noticing. When stressed, Blinks grow fast and sharp, almost fluttering. But when calm, they stretch, slow, soften. This rhythm is so tied to mental states that some researchers can gauge stress levels by blink speed alone. Your eyelids are not passive, they are messengers of peace. And blinking is contagious. Just like yawns, we mirror one another's blinks in subtle synchrony. This creates harmony between people, silent signals of shared calm. It's proof that even the smallest gestures can carry connection. So if your mind feels tight, let your eyes close slowly. Breathe, blink softly, and let that simple act remind your brain, peace is always a blink away. The joy of forgetting unnecessary weight. We often fear forgetting, but the brain treats it as freedom. Not every detail deserves to be carried. In fact, forgetting is a vital process. Pruning old, unused connections so the mind can focus on what matters now. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. The brain knows peace comes from letting go. The hippocampus constantly evaluates memories, deciding which to keep and which to fade. Useless fragments are erased like dust swept from a table. Without this mind would drown in clutter, unable to distinguish the important from the irrelevant. Forgetting clears space for clarity. And here's the paradox. Forgetting strengthens learning. By releasing excess, the brain sharpens what remains. This is why sleep, where forgetting intensifies, also improves memory. Peace is not hoarding. It is selective keeping, selective letting go. Emotion also plays its role. Memories tied to heavy emotion are harder to release, but even they soften over time. This softening is not betrayal, it is healing. The pain dulls, the edges blur, till the brain can breathe again. Forgetting is how the mind protects itself. So when you find yourself forgetting small things, don't scold your brain. It is choosing peace, clearing unnecessary weight. It is not loss, it is mercy. The calm trust of predictable rhythms. Life is filled with rhythms, sunrise and sunset, tides, heartbeats, breathing. The brain is built to align with them. Predictable rhythms bring calm because they signal safety. When the world follows a pattern, the nervous system rests. No surprises, no alarms, just trust in the cycle. Circadian rhythms are one example. They guide when we sleep, eat, and wake, syncing the brain to light and darkness. When these rhythms are steady, the mind feels balanced. But when disrupted, through late nights or erratic schedules, peace is harder to find. The brain thrives on rhythm like soil thrives on rain. Music, too, reflects this truth. A steady drumbeat, a repeated chant, even the rhythm of footsteps in a walk, all remind the brain of predictability. Each rhythm tells the body, you can relax now, nothing is out of place. That's why rituals, prayers, and even rocking chairs soothe across cultures. And rhythms don't just calm the brain, they connect it. When groups sing or march together, their heartbeats often synchronize. The brain interprets this as belonging, reducing fear and amplifying trust. Peace flows not only within but between. So tonight, listen for rhythm. In your breath, in your pulse, in the world outside. Trust it because your brain already does that. Predictable rhythms are not boring. They are home. The brain's gentle pause between each thought. If you pay close attention, you'll notice something almost hidden. Every thought has a pause before the next begins. These pauses are tiny, almost invisible, yet they are where peace quietly lives. Neuroscientists have found that between neural firings there's a moment of stillness, a reset, a breath of the brain itself. When we rush through life, we miss these pauses, but in meditation or simply sitting still, you can feel them. Thoughts drift in, fade, and then a gap. In that gap, the brain is silent, suspended. It's not empty, but alive with potential, like the hush before a note in music. It holds its own kind of beauty. The Buddhists call this the space between thoughts. It is said to be the doorway into deeper awareness. Science supports this too. EEG scans show that moments of quiet in the brain are when creative sparks often form. Stillness is not the absence of thinking, but the soil where fresh thought can grow. You might notice it when walking alone, watching the horizon, or breathing deeply. That small pause, that gentle stop between thoughts, is the brain resting naturally. We don't force it. It's already there, waiting if we choose to notice. So tonight, as your mind drifts, listen for those tiny pauses. They are gifts of silence, the brain's own heartbeat of peace. Why kindness softens the mental landscape. Kindness doesn't only touch the heart, it rewires the brain. When we show or receive kindness, oxytocin and serotonin flow, reducing stress and brightening mood. Even a small act, holding a door, offering a smile, tells the brain, here is safety, here is warmth. Peace enters not as thunder, but as a soft rain. Kindness also quiets the amygdala, the brain's alarm system. In its place, the prefrontal cortex, linked with empathy and reasoning, lights up. This shift is why kindness feels like relief. The brain moves from defense into openness. In a world where much is unpredictable, kindness is a reminder that not everything is threat, and it spreads. Kindness received makes kindness given more likely. Neurons mirror what they witness. This is empathic resonance. One calm gesture can ripple across many minds, softening landscapes of thought far beyond the first act. Peace is not solitary, it is shared. Even memory holds on to kindness differently. Harsh words may sting for years, but gentle moments, someone's patience, a stranger's help, return in quiet clarity long after. These memories form pathways of safety, anchoring the brain in trust. Kindness lasts. So if your mind feels heavy, offer kindness even to yourself. A soft word, a forgiving thought. Your brain will respond, softening its own inner ground, letting peace take root again. The healing silence after emotional storms. Emotions rise like storms in the brain. Sudden, loud, unsteady. But what follows is equally important. Silence. After a burst of anger or grief, neurons settle into a rhythm of quiet repair. The storm may seem destructive, but the silence after is where true healing begins. Neuroscience shows that emotional peaks activate the amygdala, flooding the brain with signals. But after the peak, activity drops sharply, leaving space for calm neurotransmitters like serotonin to restore balance. The silence after a storm isn't empty. It's medicine carefully delivered by your own biology. This is why tears feel cleansing. They aren't just water. They release stress hormones, clearing the system. Once they fall, silence follows, and in that silence, the brain resets. People often say they feel lighter after crying. It's not just metaphor, it's chemistry returning to peace. Think of thunder fading into distant rumble, clouds parting to reveal sky. The brain follows the same arc. It doesn't cling to storms forever. It carries them, releases them, and then rests. The silence is the brain's way of saying, it is safe now. So when storms pass, do not rush away from the silence that follows. Sit with it. That stillness is not absence. It is repair, a whisper of peace left behind after the winds. The brain's slow waves guiding inner balance. Earlier we spoke of slow waves in deep sleep. But even in wakefulness, the brain carries slower rhythms that guide balance. These waves, like calm tides, spread across the cortex, linking regions into harmony. They are the brain's way of keeping its orchestra in tune. Alpha waves, for instance, rise when you close your eyes or rest quietly. They reduce unnecessary activity, allowing the brain to focus inward. Theta waves emerge in daydreams or light meditation, carrying you into creativity and calm. Each wave has a role, like instruments, playing softly in different keys. The beauty is in their balance. Fast beta waves help us act and think quickly, but they cannot dominate forever. Without the slower rhythms, the brain burns out. The waves act like seasons, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, but always cycling back toward harmony. This is why slowing down matters. A walk, a pause, a breath. Each invites slower waves to rise. Without them, we remain stuck in speed, unable to rest. But when they return, peace flows across the neural sea. So tonight, imagine these waves rolling gently inside your mind. They are not visible, but they are real, guiding balance, cradling you into calm. You are carried by rhythms older than thought itself. How boredom quietly nurtures creativity. We resist boredom, yet the brain quietly treasures it. In moments without stimulation, the mind is free to wander, to drift into new associations. Boredom isn't emptiness. It is a field left open for seeds to grow. Without it, creativity starves. Scientists discovered that when people sit in boredom, their default mode network activates, the same system that drives imagination. Ideas begin to link in unusual ways because the brain, no longer flooded with tasks, explores freely. This is why great ideas often appear in showers, long drives, or quiet pauses. Boredom also forces rest. Without constant distraction, neurons slow their firing, conserving energy. The brain, always hungry for novelty, reluctantly adapts by building inward rather than outward. It's like soil lying fallow, preparing for a stronger harvest later. Peace hides in this reluctance, but boredom also teaches patience. In a world of constant stimulation, enduring stillness feels uncomfortable. Yet it's in this discomfort that the brain strengthens resilience. By sitting with boredom, you train your mind to rest in the ordinary, finding beauty where you least expect. So when you feel bored, don't rush to fill the gap. Let the brain wander, stumble, play. In its quiet way, boredom is not an enemy. It is the mind's invitation to creativity, to peace, to possibility. The soothing cycle of circadian rhythms. Your brain is not random in its rest. It follows the earth itself. The circadian rhythm, that 24-hour cycle written into your biology, guides when you sleep, wake, and even feel hunger. It's a quiet partnership between sunlight, hormones, and neurons. When this cycle is honored, peace feels natural. When broken, the brain struggles to find calm. At sunrise, light strikes your eyes, sending signals through the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the brain's master clock. Cortisol rises gently, waking you. At night, darkness lets melatonin flood in, guiding you to sleep. These are not accidents. They are rhythms written over millions of years. The brain trusts them like tides. But modern life often bends these cycles. Artificial light, late nights, constant screens. They confuse the brain's clock, leaving you restless even when tired. Peace slips away because the rhythm is fractured. This is why restoring patterns, dimming lights at night, rising with the sun, brings such relief. The brain loves predictability. Circadian rhythms also guide mood. Studies show people who respect natural sleep cycles are less anxious, less depressed, more resilient. It isn't just sleep, it's alignment. When the brain moves with the planet, it finds peace in being part of something larger. So tonight, trust the cycle. Let darkness mean rest and light mean waking. Your brain is not separate from the earth. It hums with it in one soothing rhythm. Why laughter releases hidden tension. Laughter. Simple, yet one of the brain's most powerful medicines. When you laugh, neurons release endorphins, those natural painkillers that soften both body and mind. At the same time, laughter lowers stress hormones, unclenching the nervous system. That's why even after tears, a laugh can arrive like sunshine breaking clouds. Interestingly, laughter doesn't require humor. Sometimes it bursts out in nervousness, in surprise, even in silliness without reason. The brain uses it as release, a reset button for tension that words cannot hold. Every chuckle, every giggle is a message. The storm has passed, you are safe. Laughter also unites people. When groups laugh together, their brains synchronize, releasing oxytocin, the hormone of trust. Shared laughter weaves invisible threads of belonging. That belonging is peace, a reminder that you are not alone in your human fragility. And laughter, strangely, is contagious. Seeing someone laugh activates mirror neurons in your brain, pulling you into the same rhythm. It spreads like fire, but instead of burning, it heals. Peace becomes collective, carried in sound. So the next time you laugh at something small, with a slip of words, a playful glance, know that it isn't trivial. It's the brain's own way of untying knots you didn't even realize you held, the quiet spark of wonder in learning. Learning often feels like effort, but beneath it lies wonder. Each time the brain encounters something new, dopamine rises, rewarding curiosity. This small chemical surge feels like joy, a quiet spark that keeps the mind alive. Peace is not always in silence. Sometimes it lives in discovery. Think of children asking endless questions, eyes wide at the smallest details. Their brains are swimming in novelty, and every answer shapes fresh connections. Adults may forget this hunger, but the wiring remains. A single moment of awe, a star, a fact, a story, can restore the same spark. The hippocampus, where memory is born, lights up during learning, and when paired with positive emotion, those memories stick. This is why inspiring teachers or books stay with us forever. The brain links peace not only to what is known, but to the joy of knowing itself. Learning also protects the brain with age. Studies show that engaging curiosity builds cognitive reserves, delaying decline. Peace here is not passive. It is active exploration, keeping neurons vibrant. Wonder itself becomes medicine. So when you feel tired of routine, give the brain a gift. Learn something small, something new. The spark of wonder will remind you that peace is not only rest, but discovery. The relief of uncluttering mental shelves. Picture your mind as a library. Each day, new books arrive, tasks, worries, memories. If none are sorted, the shelves overflow and chaos builds. But when you pause to unclutter, journaling, reflecting, or simply letting go, the brain breathes again. Peace returns with order. Neuroscience calls this cognitive offloading. By writing things down or speaking them aloud, you free working memory from overload. The prefrontal cortex, usually juggling too much, relaxes. This is why lists, diaries, or even confessions bring such relief. The brain no longer carries everything alone. Uncluttering also means emotional release. Holding grudges, replaying arguments, clinging to regrets. These fill mental shelves with heavy volumes. When you let them go, space opens. The hippocampus can sort freely again. Peace isn't always about gaining. Often it's about clearing. Even physical uncluttering helps. Studies show tidy spaces reduce stress by signaling safety. The brain sees order and mirrors it inside. A cleared desk, a made bed, a quiet corner. Each one lowers inner noise. The outer world becomes a reflection of the inner. So when thoughts feel crowded, unclutter. Write, sort, release. Your brain does not need more shelves, it needs fewer burdens. And in that letting go, peace blooms. How nostalgia comforts the restless brain. Nostalgia? A memory that feels like home. When the brain revisits the past with warmth, dopamine and oxytocin flow, creating calm. Even bittersweet nostalgia soothes because it reminds the brain of continuity, that your story is not broken but threaded with meaning, with the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex light up during nostalgic recall. These regions stitch memory with emotion, wrapping the brain in comfort. This is why an old song, a childhood photo, or even the smell of food can bring sudden peace. It isn't weakness, it's the brain grounding itself in time. Nostalgia also reduces loneliness. By recalling moments of belonging, the brain restores the feeling even if the people or places are gone. In this way, memory becomes medicine. Peace is not only in the present, it can be carried forward from the past. And nostalgia boosts resilience. In difficult times, remembering joy gives strength, reminding the brain that light has existed before and can exist again. The restless mind finds trust in its own history. Pain may feel endless, but nostalgia whispers, "You have known peace before, and you will know it again." So tonight, let a memory visit you. A face, a place, a laugh. Let it warm the brain like a candle in darkness. Nostalgia is not escape. It is a bridge back into calm. The brain's love for gentle storytelling. Stories have always soothed the brain. Long before books, humans sat around fires, listening to voices weaving meaning into sound. Neuroscience now confirms why. Stories activate multiple brain regions at once: language, emotion, memory, even motor areas. Listening becomes more than hearing. It becomes living inside another world. When the brain hears a story, oxytocin rises, increasing empathy and trust. That's why a bedtime story calms children so deeply. It isn't just distraction, it's chemical comfort. The mind feels held, connected, safe enough to rest. Adults may forget lullabies, but our brains never lose the need for stories. And stories organize chaos. They take scattered facts and tie them into threads. That's why remembering through story feels easier than memorizing lists. The brain is not built for fragments. It is built for meaning. A story gives shape to what would otherwise be noise. Even personal reflection is storytelling. When you recall your day or explain your life to yourself, you are telling a story. And each retelling softens the edges, reshapes the memory, bringing balance. Peace comes not just from events themselves, but from the story we weave around them. So tonight, let yourself be carried by story. Soft, simple, human. The brain has always found peace in words flowing like rivers, guiding it into sleep. Why nature's silence restores inner calm. Step into a forest, a field, or a quiet shore, and notice what happens inside. The brain shifts, heartbeat slows, thoughts loosen, and the mind feels lighter. This isn't imagination. Nature's silence has measurable effects, lowering cortisol, calming the amygdala, and boosting alpha waves of relaxation. The earth itself is medicine for the mind. The Japanese call it Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. Just standing among trees reduces blood pressure, strengthens immunity, and fills the brain with calm. Scientists believe part of this comes from phytoncides, compounds released by plants. But much comes from the silence itself. Nature speaks in whispers, and the brain listens. Unlike urban noise, natural silence isn't empty. It's filled with subtle sounds: wind, water, birds, each gentle, predictable, non-threatening. These cues tell the nervous system, no danger, only life unfolding. The brain doesn't need to guard itself. It can finally rest. And nature also offers perspective. Standing beneath stars or mountains, the brain feels small in a comforting way. Problems shrink, time stretches, and peace arrives not from solving but from surrendering to something larger. The brain remembers its place in a greater whole. So if rest feels far, step outside, or imagine yourself in green silence. Your brain already knows this language. It is the sound of calm you were born to trust. The brain's pause when watching the night sky. Look up at the stars and notice how your thoughts slow. The brain, flooded with vastness, naturally pauses. Psychologists call this awe, the quiet suspension of self in the face of something greater. In awe, the prefrontal cortex, home of worry and planning, goes silent, and neurons fall into still harmony. This pause is restorative. Studies show awe reduces stress, increases well-being, and expands perspective. The brain, usually caught in loops of personal thought, suddenly widens. Problems shrink against galaxies. Time feels softer. The mind rests in wonder. Even ancient cultures recognized this. Stargazing was ritual, not just science. It calmed shepherds in deserts, sailors at sea, poets in fields. Their brains felt what ours still feel. The sky is not chaos. It is rhythm, constancy, an infinite reminder that peace is possible even in immensity. And the beauty is, awe doesn't need explanations. You don't need to name stars or measure distances. Just looking is enough. The visual cortex lights, the default mode network softens, and the brain simply pauses, as if bowing in respect to the infinite. So tonight, picture the night sky above you, endless, quiet, filled with light. Let your brain pause in its glow. That pause is not empty. It is peace painted across eternity. How slow walking heals scattered thoughts. There is a rhythm in walking that heals the mind. Each step, steady and repeated, entrains the brain into balance. Researchers found that walking increases blood flow to regions linked with creativity and mood regulation. But beyond science, you know the truth. After a walk, thoughts feel clearer, softer, less tangled. Walking creates bilateral movement. Left, right, left, right. This activates both hemispheres of the brain, syncing them through the corpus callosum. The result is smoother thought, like threads being woven into fabric. Scattered neurons find pattern, and rest emerges from motion. The pace matters. Fast walking sharpens focus, but slow walking soothes. When you stroll without hurry, your brain follows. Heart rate lowers, alpha waves rise, and the nervous system sighs. Each step becomes a moving meditation, a gentle anchor to the present. History is filled with thinkers who walked to think. Aristotle, Darwin, Thoreau. They all found that walking was not distraction, but clarity. The brain, released from chairs and screens, returned to its natural rhythm, moving, breathing, balancing itself with each step. So if your thoughts feel scattered, let your feet carry you slowly. Don't chase solutions, just walk. The brain will heal itself in the rhythm of the path, the peaceful drift of hypnagogic moments. There is a borderland between waking and sleeping. Scientists call it hypnagogia. In this drifting state, the brain blends reality with dream. Shapes blur, thoughts loosen, images rise unbidden. Far from chaos, this is one of the brain's most peaceful transitions, a twilight of consciousness where rest begins. EEG studies show hypnagogia is marked by theta waves, the same rhythms linked with meditation and creativity. The brain is not yet asleep, but no longer tied to rigid logic. It drifts, free and fluid, exploring connections it ignores in waking life. This is why ideas often appear here, like gifts given before sleep. The body follows, muscles loosen, breathing deepens, heart rate slows. Sometimes you feel a jolt, a hypnic jerk, as the brain tests the line between wakefulness and dream. It may startle you, but it is natural, a signal of release. Peace is arriving, Artists and inventors have long prized this state. Edison and Dalí both tried to capture hypnagogic visions, believing the brain revealed truths here. Yet for most of us, it is simply rest, a calm slide into dream, guided by the brain's own rhythms. So when your eyes grow heavy and thoughts blur, don't resist. You are drifting in hypnagogia, the brain's gentle bridge into sleep. It is not a loss of control. It is the mind's softest surrender.